Okay, welcome to tutorial B, which is on site and how to do site work. And what I'm going to be doing in this tutorial is I'm actually going to be creating the site for you guys. So I'm going to kind of record what I'm doing so you can follow along. So you'll be able to create a site in a future studio. And I'm not going to do everything for this site, so there's going to be some things that you may have to finish off, or as the semester goes on, things that you're going to want to probably add more detail to, or manipulate yourself, just for your designs for the actual site itself. So to get started, there's actually probably two ways to do a site. The first is like if you get information, like stuff like a plat map, which is you can find from a city's website, and then the city, maybe like a Google image or a Google Street image, turned on, and you can use this stuff to start to like trace out anything. So like those image files, you can actually insert into Revit. So if you go to the Insert tab, you can click on Image, and then you can insert that image file, wherever it is. But you can see how like it comes in really small, so you'd have to make sure that you scale it up properly. So it's like and then like if you use the plat map to kind of like start to draw. So if I open the plat map back up, you could use the dimensions on here to start to like draw this out, and then once you had that drawn out, you'd have to kind of like fit this onto that and get it to kind of be in the same spot that you want. But that's not very accurate, and it's also something that you could probably do in AutoCAD too if you're more familiar with AutoCAD and as you start to learn Revit. But like I said, it's not a very accurate kind of method of doing it. And it takes a little bit longer to do because you gotta, obviously you have to use the plat maps to be more precise, so you have the correct dimensions, for the lot lines. But everything else, it can be a little pain. So the second way to actually do it, and how I created my site plan that you see in this DWG file, which will also be on Box, along with the template file that contains the site. The way I did it is I know GIS and how to download, use the shape files from the internet that the city offers to create a site plan, and that's what I did. So I'm going to import the site plan that I create, and this is going to be the site plan that's up on Box. But once you import a site plan, it stays in Revit, so and it's not like XREFs in AutoCAD where you always have to have them. You'd have to have the XREF file for it to work or show up. This, once it's in, you don't need it anywhere. You don't need to have the file if you didn't want to have the file. But you can see here I use GIS to create this site plan for everyone, and this is what I'm going to use to help me draw the actual site, a 3D site in Revit. So the first thing I want to show is you can see when I click on this, there's a little pin option. What that does is it keeps this in place, so you can see I can't move this anywhere. But for right now, I'm actually going to unpin it for a second, because this little kind of symbol right here, and I clicked on this, shows anything that's hidden. So this little symbol is actually like the site point. So you kind of want to get your site near that, some part of your site on that point. That's because when you put location in Revit and stuff like that, that's kind of the point that references that location. So I put that where our site is, and then I'm actually gonna pin this again so that this can't be moved anymore. So that's always something that you want to do. And then I've already, under the Manage tab, I've had this location set up. If you haven't watched tutorial A, I show that in tutorial A. Okay, and the thing that you want to know with anything that you import through CAD is even though it's a flat drawing, Revit recognizes it as kind of like a 3D entity. So if I go to a 3D view, you're actually going to see the drawing itself. Obviously, it's a flat drawing, but you're going to see it in 3D. And then any other floor, depending on the view range, you may see it, you may not. I believe all these will probably show it. You can see here how it gets grayed out. And that's because I had an underlay on. If I turn the underlay off, you won't see it. So that just has to do with the view range, but obviously the site that you want to see it. And then the neat thing about importing AutoCAD into Revit is Revit recognizes all the different layers. So you can see, I've started to add some color and stuff, so I can recognize the different layers. If I go to Edit Visibility and Imported Categories, you'll see the file that I've imported. Now, if I uncheck this, this will hide that file just in this view. So, like if I go to 3D view, it's still there. Or if I go to another, one of the first floors, it's still there. So that's something that once you have the site drawn and you don't need this anymore, you're gonna want to go to the view, the views that you see it in, and uncheck that so you don't see it. But you never want to delete it out because you want to be able to see it, if you ever have to go back and reference it. But if you expand this, you see every single layer that was created in Revit that's used to create that drawing shows here. So I can turn off specific layers, and so I can actually do it. And I'm actually going to do that as I work on the site, so it's easier for me to see the certain things that I'm working on. And the last thing that I want to show are kind of these little boxes right here, and these are actually the elevation views. So I'm just going to pull these out for now, so they're kind of around the site. Actually, let me undo that since there was a couple there. So you can see what these do is they actually are the elevation marks. So that's probably, whatever elevation mark that is. If I click on it and go to view, it'll let me know the elevation. So there's a couple here. So I'm just moving these so when you actually go to your see the elevation, you'll see all the buildings. But these are something that, depending on what you guys add for your specific projects, you may have to either rotate these or move them themselves, because you can see how this one, it's not parallel to this facade. So maybe it's something that you want to rotate so it's parallel. And there's actually, in a later tutorial, I'm going to actually show how to add new views for an elevation that come in parallel or perpendicular to any elements that you put in, like a wall. You can have it be perpendicular to that. So since now that those are set up, I'll leave those. That's something that, you can pin these as well. So if you ever set up a view later on and you want to make sure that you can never click it and move it like I just did, you can pin those as well. So I think that's pretty much it on that aspect. So that's the site plan. You can see this red is the site, where the building is. So this is, all of the existing building right here, and then this is where the addition is going to go, or depending on what your project is, which we'll get into in the coming weeks. And then the rest of this is actually owned. You can see like the lighter red, kind of pinkish color. This area is actually owned by the the person that owns this property as well. And I believe this is where the kiosks are going to go. And then there's more stuff that are kind of designed with it as well, like a little park area or something like that. And then if you look on Google, either Earth or on Google Maps, I believe there's a couple of soccer fields over here as well. So you can see what I did is, like I said, I use GIS. So all this is shape files that I've downloaded and put in. And I first mentioned this is the train tracks there. So this is all GIS that I put in. All different shape files for the building footprints. For all the surrounding buildings. So it makes it a lot easier, and it's a little bit more accurate than inserting a JPEG from Google Earth and trying to trace everything out. It can be very painful if you do that. But you'll notice that I went a little wider. These are actually the contour lines. This is 5 feet, 10 feet, and 15 feet contour. And I went a little bit wider so I can actually do a contour. when I create the site, and then I'm going to actually cut out the excess what I don't need because I just want to show this red square. And I went a little wider so I can actually create it and it'll do it. And you'll see what I mean when I start to do the actual site. I think I'm going to end this video right here, and then you start doing the whole site, starting in the next video in part 2.